皆さんこんにちは。I'm Haruka who is making your Japanese learning easy. In this video, you are going to learn the Japanese sentence structures. If you are a beginner, you are lucky to find this video in this early step of your Japanese learning journey. Or if you're struggling to understand Japanese sentences even if you know a lot of vocabularies, you are in the right place. As you hear Japanese sentences in anime or drama, you may notice that most of the Japanese sentences are different from English word orders. Yes, exactly. Japanese sentence structure is completely opposite to English. And that's why Japanese is one of the most difficult languages to acquire, especially for English speakers. You guys are courageous as you challenge yourself to learn difficult ones. I'm not going to keep you in the intro so long, so let's begin right ahead. Japanese sentence structure is not that strict compared to English. In English, we have to keep the sentences in these forms like subject, verb, subject, verb, complement, subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object, object, subject, verb, object, complement. In English, if we don't follow these forms, the sentences don't make sense. Let's say I say, my mom the kitchen clean keeps. You will have a hard time to understanding me. As you can see, English has a strict rule that we follow 5 sentence patterns and always subject first and verb comes next. On the other hand, Japanese sentences are flexible. All you need is just follow one rule that the verb comes at the end of the sentence. We tend to omit the subject, but if you say the subject, you better start the sentence with the subject though. But again, it's not that strict compared to English. Let's take a look at the sentences earlier in the Japanese translations. I do. します。He is a beaver. 彼はビーバーです。He wears a hat. 彼は帽子をかぶります。He taught me science. 彼は私に理科を教えました。My mother keeps the kitchen clean. 母はキッチンをきれいに保ちます。Disclaimer: These example sentences in Japanese are not really daily conversational. Since today's objective is to learn sentence structure in Japanese, I just translated exactly into Japanese, so that it's not too complicated. These sentences sound like textbook Japanese. If you don't know what is masu and desu, please go check this video first, then come back to this, so that you can listen clearly. As you learn from the video, this is a helping verb, and masu is a termination of the verbs. That's why they go at the end of the sentences. The longer sentences get, the more understanding this concept is the key to understand what people say and what the articles say. Now you know that the Japanese sentences ends with verbs. Next, let's make the sentences longer. Firstly, let's take a look at the English sentence. He wears a hat. If you want to add more details to this sentence, you can do, for example, he, who is a beaver, wears a Canadian hat that he bought last summer. In English, the details with relative clauses, which are with who and that in this sentence, go to the right side of the one that is described. For adjectives, it goes left side. On the other hand, in Japanese, most of the details goes to the left side of the one that is described. So, we talk about the details first before telling you what we are describing. If you want to translate this sentence into Japanese, that will be ビーバーの彼は去年の夏に買ったカナダの帽子をかぶります。So now you know details in Japanese sentences comes first, Then the one we described comes next. The detail parts are called modifiers, and the one that is described is a main element. Let's see examples of those combinations. 柔らかいお肉、柔らかいお肉。豪華な家具、豪華な家具。たくさん運動をする、たくさん運動をする。サーモンのお寿司、サーモンのお寿司。日本で働く、日本で働く。昨日会った人、昨日会った人。歯医者さんが取ったサーモン、歯医者さんが取ったサーモン。カナダに住んでいるから英語とフランス語を話します。カナダに住んでいるから英語とフランス語を話します。Now let's apply them into sentences. Here are the basic and the most important elements. 私は YouTube を見ています。Here are some details that I'd like you to add to the sentence. 日本語を勉強している。毎日。日本語の。You can pause the video and think how to put them into the sentence above, according to the rule that I explained. In Japanese, details are always on the left side, which is before the main element. Alright, here is the answer. 日本語を勉強している私は毎日日本語の YouTube を見ています。日本語を勉強している私は毎日日本語の YouTube を見ています。The relative clause 日本語を勉強している is a detail of I 私。So it goes before I. The time 毎日 describes the frequency of the action 見ています。We tend to add time or and place at the beginning of the sentences, but you can also go with 日本語を勉強している私は日本語の YouTube を毎日見ています。日本語の describes what kind of YouTube you are watching. Therefore, it goes before YouTube. Don't forget to add no, since 日本語 and YouTube are nouns. When you encounter long sentences, just take time to find out where is the subject, the main elements, and the details are. And remind yourself that the Japanese verbs go at the end and the details go to the left side. Now you guys know the very basic and important elements of the Japanese sentence structure. Let's move on to the next. When it comes to learning Japanese, you cannot escape from particles. Particles are not details. We always put particles right after the word or a phrase and describe how they relate to the rest of the sentences. For example, 私は7時に起きます。パソコンでシムズ4をします。おばあちゃんに手紙を書きます。The notion of some particles in Japanese don't exist in English. For example, particle は which indicates the subject. Particle が which indicates also the subject or kind of object. And particle を which indicates the direct object. They don't exist in English since the sentence pattern such as subject, verb, object are strictly followed in English. For example, we don't have other choices to say I get up at 7. We cannot say I at 7 get up. Once we change the word order in English, the meaning changes or it doesn't make sense. On the other hand, Japanese sentences are more flexible thanks to the particles. We can say 私は7時に起きます or even 7時に私は起きます。Basically, Japanese sentences are subject, complement, object, and verb. As long as you follow only one rule that the verb is always at the end of the sentence works anyway. The subject at the beginning of the sentence is preferable though. Or we have particles that they are equivalent of English prepositions such as に、で、から、まで, etc. Each particle has a lot of uses, so I'm not going to explain it here. One thing at a time. Conclusions of the Japanese sentence structures. 1. The verb comes at the end of the sentence. 2. The details come first, then the one that is described. 3. Particles are always right after the word or a phrase that belongs to. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned the Japanese sentence structure. And if you like it, please let me know with a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. またね. Happy Japanese learning!